Welcome to Behavior Bits, September 2020. We're going a little lights, camera, action this month because we're talking about student engagement. I usually prep something that can be pretty family friendly as well as educator friendly, but this month I'm really emphasizing the educators, and next month I'll emphasize what families are doing during this distance learning time. So, I was looking at Special Ed Connect and I saw these beautiful 6 strategies that they talked about. They were specifically looking at students with ADHD, but I think these strategies are great for everyone. So, getting back to those basics, which we'll review a little bit with a visual that I have from Castle, an SEL resource. And so, those basics are things like setting a routine, making sure that you're stating those expectations. And so, that's actually getting into number 2, setting specific goals and making them realistic. Right now our goals aren't going to necessarily look exactly like they did before. Communicating clearly with students and parents, particularly about those expectations, as well as, what is going to happen if expectations aren't being met, or how they can reach out to you if they need additional support. Schedule frequent breaks. I don't know if I can say this enough. Schedule a lot of breaks. Remember to put breaks in. Please schedule breaks. This is a totally different way of doing school. And while we do typically look for our students to, sit down and engage with us in a learning environment, they're still able to get up and move their bodies in a different way than being assigned to just a small screen can lead you to do, right? Like if I'm a wiggly kid, I might be all up over here, but now I'm off the screen, and that's sort of lending to a lack of engagement. If I'm socially savvy enough, I might pick up on that and be like, oh, I should stay in the screen. But I don't know about you all, but at least myself, I've been having a lot more trouble just sitting frequently in front of a screen. So please accommodate that. Lots and lots of breaks are great. And I'll give you some resources for how to make breaks fun and engaging too a little later on. So model those active coping strategies. We are the best prepared to support our students and where they're at, especially if they're having a tough time, when we can remember to stay grounded, to take our own deep breaths, and to be there for ourselves and our own needs. And then adjust your expectations. So we kind of alluded to that with a couple other of those points there. So I'm going to move on to these 3 signature SEL practices. So SEL stands for Social Emotional Learning, and Castle is a great resource that has a lot of good stuff in there. So I pulled this right from them. When you're starting off your day or your synchronous learning activities, or even asynchronous ones, it's always a great idea to have some sort of connecting moment in the beginning. Whether it's a check-in, there are a lot of great check-in boards out there. You're doing a temp check on your students. You're seeing how their mood is feeling. You might be just doing an icebreaker to get them all ready to be online and sort of transition from what they were doing before class to now being in class. So the second step is probably the hardest. And I think it's really hard when it's in person too. So engaging pedagogy, having practices and activities and materials and teaching things that are engaging. This is important when you're in class in a traditional way, but it is so much more important when you're online, and it can be really tricky. So, ask your peers, ask other folks what they're doing. And hopefully, like I said, I have a couple resources at the end of this that might serve you well, or attached to the newsletter that I usually put these behavior bits videos into. And then an optimistic closure, just kind of, we call it at bases a lot bookending. We really want to make sure that we're starting out right. In that time, you want to be, open and welcome. You want to transition into the learning environment. You want to state your expectations and let kids and staff, and both, and parents that might be on the call know about what you're going to do. So maybe like a run through of your schedule. And then at the end, you also want to do an optimistic closing. You also want to provide some level of breather, break, room, Q&A, something where you're able to sort of close out that activity that you just did. The biggest thing that I've heard from educators that I've been working with, including administrators that have been training educators on how to now work in this distant learning world, is proper prior planning. It's an old saying that my mom used to say. There's more to it, I think, but I'm just going to stick with proper prior planning, because when you have your roles understood between the staff that are on the call, or students and families, when you have your materials prepared, when you have your whole slideshow ready to go, or when you've got your notes and your outline of what's going to happen during that time, it's a lot easier to not go completely off book and lose time, lose students. but it's also really easy to then have a couple alternatives, or then know, hey, if someone's talking and not muting themselves, I've already assigned a co-host so they can mute students and those kinds of things. So really, really important to have planned. There are a lot of great things that can happen on the fly for sure. But if you're new to distance learning in particular, I highly emphasize, please plan and prepare both your materials, your roles of yourself or any other person that's in the digital meeting with you, and also making sure that parents are getting connected, students are connected. If not, you might need to reach out to some community partners. There might be some needs for respite or some needs for other support services to help make sure that they can connect and then engage. This is an SEL, again, through Castle, through distance learning teacher self-assessment. So like I said before, it's that proper prior planning really kind of is taking a look at yourself as well as the environment that you're going to be in. And so please, do this little assessment or any other thing that you might see out there and see, am I in a place where I've thought about these kinds of things so that I can set the stage to really be present and available and have all my students as well in that digital environment that I'm going to be doing teaching out of. So I did talk a little bit about some resources. I'm going to go through these very quickly because these slides will be available on our Padlet and they will have links to various things. Most of these I tried to be very general in what the topic is and then provide you with maybe some suggestions of apps. I am by no means an expert in what all is out there. These are just things that I've seen that other people have told me that they really like. And these are things that I have utilized myself when I've done various engagement opportunities or trainings in the COVID times. So digital meeting resources, if there's polls, get that feedback. If there's breakout rooms, people are so much more likely to turn on their video and to talk when they're put into a breakout room. Whiteboards create that same interactive learning that you might have had in your classroom. A Bitmoji classroom, or I have a Bitmoji office there, you can actually put images that then have links and students can explore around. We have a couple sensory rooms and Zen dens that are done Bitmoji style, and it just adds that human kind of approach. Jamboard is a new thing that Google came out with, or at least new to me. I didn't know about it, and it is so fun. Please check it out. Jamboard.google.com. It's super interactive. It's a little bit like a whiteboard, but also you get to have a little bit more creativity, and there's sticky notes, images, all sorts of things. I always, always, always recommend in-person, and now even more so, some level of classroom management system like ClassDojo, or if you're working with older students, ClassCraft. These are amazing services. I know Dojo's free. I'm pretty sure ClassCraft has some free as well as some paid for versions that really they gamify your classroom. They make it interesting on a level that our students are wanting, that maybe if we didn't grow up at the same time as our students, we might not realize how much gamifying something really brings that engagement piece to the forefront. So you can give rewards, you can level people up, or I think they get like health and other types of bonuses in ClassCraft because it really works like a video game in a lot of ways. A few things that just keep the energy going, keep things moving. I was a preschool teacher for a really long time, and I currently have a 3-year-old. So let me just tell you how much I'm using all of these things. But any kind of spinner, like if there's something going on and you want to get that engagement, hey, whoever reads the next thing gets to, push the spinner and they get to do X, Y, or Z. Or maybe whoever's going to read next, I'm going to do the spinner and I'm going to call your name. I also like to attach it to prizes. So I see there's a couple kids that are doing a really great job, and maybe 20 minutes into a class, then I will be, all these kids were doing such a great job listening and being safe and respectful like we asked. So let's go ahead and spin and you get a prize at the end. Go Noodle or other types of brain breaks and movement breaks please plan breaks. I don't know if I can say it enough. And scavenger hunts are super fun. We even had our high school class the other day completely engaging in scavenger hunts because it was a nice excuse to go look in the environment that you're in and share a little piece of that with the people that were in class with you. Video resources are huge. I use Screencastify to even just do this. So please, think about using videos. Think about not only having there be synchronous learning, but also for asynchronous learning times. You want to have something that the kids that weren't there can still look at for the course content. Awesome. Do another video with it too. So you did it in person, and then you also have that video that you did. And that's all I got for this month. So please, please, please stay engaged yourself. I hope everyone's safe and healthy in these COVID times, and feel free to reach out if there's any bits or anything that in particular that you want to see or get to know more about.